Hello everyone, I'm Yiğit Kemal. I am a second year computer engineering student at Bilkent University, and today I'm going to present my Physics 101 lab project to you. The name of my project is Determining the Coefficient of Kinetic Friction Between Two Surfaces. The objective of this project is how to determine the coefficient of kinetic friction on an inclined plane and observing the effect of this friction on the movement of the object. The equipments that I use to conduct this experiment are first the inclined plane, since it's easier to show and find the forces acting on the object, an object to release on the inclined plane, ruler to measure the distance traveled by the object, timer to measure the time traveled by the object, protractor to measure the slope angle of the inclined plane, a scientific calculator, and a balance. This is the picture of the setup of my experiment. I released the object on this inclined plane from different points. And by using the triangle at the bottom of the inclined plane, I was able to change the slope angle of the inclined plane. And this is the video of an example release on the inclined plane. In relation with the theoretical physics, I'm using the position formula of an object. Position of an object can be found as its initial positions plus its initial velocity times time plus 1 over 2 its acceleration times time square. By conducting this experiment, I was able to find the time traveled by this object and the distance traveled by object. By using this formula, I found the acceleration of the object. We know that the force accelerating the object on the inclined plane can be found as mg sine theta. By using this formula and the Newton's second law, we are able to find the friction force acting on this object. We know that the friction force also can be found as coefficient of kinetic friction times normal force. And we know that on the inclined plane, normal force is equal to mg cosine theta. By using these formulas, we are able to find the coefficient of kinetic friction. These are the tables that I used in my final report. First table includes data that I obtained during the experiment. Table 2 and Table 3 include data that I obtained from the previously talked equations. And this is the graph of friction force and the normal force. The slope of the baselines gives us the coefficient of kinetic friction in this graph, which is 0.31 in my experiment. As it can be seen from the friction force normal force graph, there are some errors in the experiment and there are several reasons for that. First of all, I used the timer to measure the time traveled by the object and I started and stopped the timer by hand. That's why it's not so precise and there are some errors in the time traveled by the object. Also, I used the ruler to measure the distance traveled by this object. Again, there are some errors in the distance traveled because of the measurement equipment. Similarly, I use the protractor to measure the slope angle of the inclined plane and there are some errors because of the protractor itself. If we want this experiment to be more precise and exact, we can use better measurement equipments and we might have sensors to measure the time traveled by the object. Also, we might have a better environment for this experiment. Thank you for listening. It was my Physics 101 lab project.